And I'm not sure. I haven't heard from her that she's not. So
Right. Keep the time up, so.
Okay, we will call our April meeting to order at 6:04 on April 4th. First on our agenda is public comments. We have some members of the public here. Would anyone like to comment?
You first? Okay. Last month, you were good enough to give me a few minutes to speak. The next day, I decided that maybe it would be better if I tried to reorganize and make a bit more coherent the remarks I made at the meeting. So I buzzed an email out to Ann and laid out a couple of ideas, and having not gotten an acknowledgement, I was wondering if there were any questions, comments, or other thoughts.
Skylar, you emailed me on. I'm so sorry.
It would have been either the next day after your March meeting or the day after that.
I'm sorry, I overlooked it. I really.
Okay. Would you like another copy?
Sure, yes. Was there anything you wanted to present in public comment?
Not beyond what is there. It was just listening to the meeting that night, I got the impression that the board was discussing a solution to a problem that maybe had not yet been completely defined. And I understand that the presentation to the Board of Finance, some of their members had the same impression. And I guess the only point I would make is define your problem or problems, go over various solutions, realizing that some solutions might hit 2 or 3 different areas. But I would also add, don't be steamrolled. I know the letter from the Board of Finance mentioned working with Colebrook. Well, yeah, maybe that's a solution, and maybe it's not. Let the solution derive from the problems. Don't let people sitting in my chair steamroll you into a solution that may not be directly related to the problem. That's all. I know people tend to say, well, this is the solution. Well, yeah, maybe it is. And then again, maybe it's not. So with the years I've spent on boards, it ain't easy, I know. Sometimes you get one problem coming this way and one coming this way, and you know, what solves this makes this worse. Well, that's life. But if you do have any further questions on that over the next month or so, give me a call, ring. I can be back.
I absolutely will. I'm so sorry. I have a reason, but not an excuse. I've just been over the top busy, but I don't know how I overlooked it. I juggle a lot of email. I really do apologize. I hate to not answering those. So I will absolutely give it focus and give it.
Thank you. And I give you full credit for differentiating between reason and excuse. Not many know that difference. So thank you for understanding that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do we have any other comments?
Yeah, my only comment, and I know it's been brought up again, is, you know, sometimes it's difficult for people to get to meetings but still want to know what's going on. When you look at the minutes, it says nothing. I have no idea what happened at the meeting. When I'm on Boto School's Board of Ed page of the website, the YouTube channel's not there to know where to watch the meeting. So if things could just be clear, so that if somebody wants to see what happened at the meeting and weren't able to attend, we are. You know, for example, last month under principal's report, it just says the principal gave a report. Well, what was it? You know, you can't discern anything from the minutes. So that's my point.
I know that if you right above the virtual minutes, there's a link that says link to our YouTube channel to see the report.
I'm looking at it right now. It's a meeting agenda and minutes.
No, it's on, where the links to the meetings are.
Where's the BLE virtual meetings?
So in the top header, if you go to.
Oh, they go to virtual meetings. Oh, YouTube channel, there it is. Okay. Which is like not intuitively where I would look. I would look next to the minutes. So I don't know, you know, I just think it's not clear. So,
Okay.
but I mean, now I see it. So that's
Thank you. That's hard, no, but I, okay.
So answer, I mean, answer it. Go ahead.
Well, so our minutes are, we have been advised that the way to produce proper minutes is to not give a story, not to give a dialogue, not to give interpretation of what happened, but rather to report specific things like emotions and votes. Anything else is subject to interpretation. And so minutes aren't really meant to be a storyline of what happened at the meeting. Rather, they're supposed to be a public record of specific legal actions taken. And so that's what our minutes do. That's what. So, you know, that's the theory behind it. It's not intentional to hide or to manipulate or mislead, and rather it's to fulfill the requirement that and with the instructions that we've been given as a statement.
I mean, and just for an example, if you look at the Board of Finance's minutes, everything is laid out and explained, and it is subjective. So, I mean, you know, you could say what the principal's report was, not the principal's report. I mean, we're gonna agree to disagree. So.
Thank you. Okay, would anyone else? Are there any other public comments?
Henry Trudeau, when you guys found out me, I haven't really been to a ton of these or really been involved in a lot of this. I was a teacher here for 51 years, so tried to, keep my head out of it a bit, whether or not that was the right call or not. But yeah, I wanted to take the opportunity to thank everybody here for doing all the stuff that you guys do, especially those who are elected and just doing it on their own time, and the people who aren't paid to be here. But just, let you all know that while I don't necessarily agree with everything every single person has, I know you guys all have different opinions of your own. I appreciate you all expressing those opinions, be it the opinion of you as a board member or you as individuals of the town. And I think there's obviously a lot yet to be seen, but in seeing some of the dialogue as it occurs with other parts of the town and town government and other people in town, I think it can be frustrating from my point of view, somebody who went to school here, my whole life, lived in town my whole life, worked here, has a kid who's going to be attending in the fall, to just see people talk about it, the future and all the different challenges and hopes that everybody has, and maybe not do it in the most nuanced and appropriate way. It feels like it doesn't give the full understanding of what's happened over the past 10-15 years in our town, state, country, all that stuff. So mostly my statement is just that of support for Botel and Board of Education and the town in general and the community and yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next on our agenda is the approval of minutes of our regular meeting of March 7th. Okay, that was going to be my one. All right, I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of March 7th, 2023.
All those in favor? John also said aye. So that motion carries. Correspondence. Got a lot of things to say, but superintendent's.
So you want to say leaders on. It's the 2 days, it's a question, they are with Nicole. And we continue to. It's one of hope, area of leadership and the vision of the board with much collaborative with leaders and the nature's classroom has now years that we've been bound together, and it's one of the more successful things in that to very positive. In the spirit of collaboration, I've been meeting with a number of superintendents in the Northwest region, and everyone is grappling with some of the same problems that we are. And we are looking at the advanced region of ways that we can utilize resources, share resources, and develop programming within the district that will support all of the small communities that are again grappling with many of the challenges that we have here. Right now, we've been really going through the process of the end of the year, how we're going to wrap up. It is questionable as to what our budget's going to look like for next year. Hopefully tonight we'll find out from Board of Finance what our appropriation is going to be. We've had several conversations about how our budget necessarily had to be increased by that point, less than 1%, or this 0.09% increase, largely due to expenses totally out of our control. Especially costs and the number of decisions that have been taken with needs, which we are happy to serve, that are very expensive. Some of which are, all of which are out of our control, have increased our budget tremendously. So while our budget is going up less than 1%, the special ed costs have far exceeded 1%, almost 3%. So I'm grappling with how we are going to respond if in fact we do not get the appropriation asked for, and that will go into the conversation about subcommittee and just so that you know that Lauren and I have been Kathy hard to make sure that everything is buttoned up. What we will be doing over the next couple of months is reconciling our budget and any opportunity that we have to put ourselves in a good position. Because as you know, we've had several unexpected increases this year that we had not budgeted for. One of the prime examples being oil that budgeted $3 a gallon and it closed out at over $4.14, I believe, a gallon. So, this is just a busy time of year with making sure we reconcile the current budget and make plans for the next year's budget. So, which is, I just want to say for the record, an incredibly fiscally responsible budget, and I'm hopeful that the Board of Finance will support us.
What's the oil price we locked in for next year? 308. That's a bit better than town.
Historically, I believe every year we have done better. We belong again to a cohort that many school districts across the state now has expanded, as well as many municipalities. Norfolk, the town has been invited to join that cohort, but they have made the decision to, I don't know if it's local or what they do, but they have not participated in this cohort. But every year that I've been here, we have locked it in a significantly lower price than the town. So 308 is still high, but the prices since we locked in has increased, and we expect that it's going to hold to be a good price. But what's the name of the cohort? This is it's through all of the risks. It used to be run by Ed Aram, who's a retired superintendent, and then when he left, the risks at Advance, Craft, ACES, learn, all of the rest came together and took on that cohort and expanded it to include not only the districts that were in it with ed in this area, but across the state. So many school districts, as well as the many municipalities participate. And so our rates are historically much better because of the group size. I don't know if there's a name for it, but it's with East River Energy.
So looking at the budget for this year, are there any, or do you anticipate any places where we'll have shortfalls, or where you feel like there'll be?
Well, we will balance our budget, because, one hand giveth, the other taketh away. So because we had the changeover in staff that we had, we've replaced many of those with either teachers who have lower insurance requirements. So where we might have had a family, we have a two, we might have had an individual, and we've had some lower salary increases. We've had, the staff changes have positively impacted our salary and benefit line. So we'll be able to cover shortfalls in oil and, overages in oil and special ed and a couple building, some significant building improvement things, that emergency things with that money. So we will balance our budget. And I'm not sure that we will have the kind of money left over then to give back to the town every year for the many years. I think all except for one of the past 9 years that I've been here, we have returned any unused money for the town. So again, for the sake of just my children sometimes call me Captain Obvious, but we do a really thorough job of trying to develop a budget based on what we know to be true. It's not, we don't have a crystal ball. So to know exactly what you're going to need and what the circumstances are going to be a year from the time that you're planning a budget are, it's challenging. So we do the best we can with that. And any time that we are able to save money, or when we get grant money, if we can mitigate some of the line items in the budget, we do that. So we have given back money every single year, sometimes up to 2%. So, I struggle to understand, the reasoning on the town to, flat fund us because of MBR, future MBR concerns. Because, if we don't use it, we give it back. We don't hide it. We don't, buy unnecessary things. We have returned. We did a beautiful study a couple of years ago.
$200,000.
Yeah, over $200,000 that we've given back over the past 10 years. So, hopefully we'll get the money to fund our budget. The one big concern, and I've mentioned this to Mike, is every budget, while we look to save as much money as we can, we always look for ways that we can add value to what we do for our kids. It's really important that we provide the very best for our kids and our families. And there has been a lot of conversation, interest in parents and some community members about expanding preschool to 5-day half days than the 3. And if we were to have 5 half days, it would give us tremendous flexibility and opportunities for programming for a number of different children based on a lot of different individual needs and circumstances. And so in the budget, one of the, I think the only improvement addition that is in the budget is expanding preschool from 3 half days to 5 half days. And that increase, if you do not get it, then that's likely not going to be something that we can move forward, because every other line item has been pinched and pinched and pinched. I know some people don't, like the graph that we generate, but when you look at that, graph that shows the expenditures and the teeny little sliver that is regular ed over which we have any discretion is almost non-existent anymore. So I'm concerned that we may not be able to move forward with expanding preschool, but that's going to be a decision, that the Board of Finance has to make. So we'll see what happens. I'll go to that meeting this evening after this board meeting, and we'll know tomorrow. Do you have any questions for me?
Would you have a question, Jen?
No.
Remembering that the budget is flat funded.
It has pretty much been flat funded or cut over several years. Ironically, one year it was cut, and we had said to the Board of Finance, we've got no place else to go. It'll be programs or people because that's where the money is. I believe it was a $40,000 cut that was imposed. And we asked for suggestions of where they thought we might get that in the budget. And the answer was, well, we just think you can do it. And we said, we made it public, we have a robust music program here. And one of the things that we do offer is strings. And some of you will remember that we said, the strings component, because there's no pathway, it's not offered at the middle school or the high school. We did a survey, and of the 5 to 8 kids who typically will take strings, there was not a single student who pursued it personally after they left. So there was really no pathway. And so it was a very high price tag, and we cut that strings portion of music. And there was a lot of political community pushback. We made it clear it wasn't what we wanted to do, but you can't cut $40,000 and not have an impact. It wasn't anything to, but anyways, that year, the town was sanctioned because they didn't meet MBR, and they were required to give us back $35,000 of that $40,000 cut. So had they not cut that, we wouldn't have cut strings. There wouldn't have been all the community frustration. But so that was the biggest cut. But we have been either cut or flat funded, all except for 1 year. I believe early on there was a year we did get maybe $50,000 increase. There was some really solid justification. I don't recall what that was for, but otherwise we've been either cut or flat funded.
We lost strings and Spanish.
Spanish was another one. It was a cut year, and we always look for what has the least impact on our kids. And again, when you get into the $20,000-$30,000 worth of cuts, those price tags are either people or programs or a combination of both. So there've been some very difficult years, but then again, there have been years where we've been able to give back money because expenses haven't been quite what they were, or changes were just, like we would get a last minute reduction in health insurance costs. So instead of going up 6%, it went up maybe 4.5%. So it was a windfall for us. So some of the cuts we were able to carry on as if nothing happened, but a lot goes on behind the scenes too, in response to the cuts of the flat funding. And in a world where everything, a dozen organic eggs, $8 a dozen for eggs, everything has gone up. Inflation, we did a study 1 year that, showed just basic inflation, what, the increases were. Yeah, again, we were flat funded. So, education, we may have fewer kids, but the cost of educating kids, running a building, they've only gone up. So it's really sad that, our budget has been, perceived to be too much of a burden.
I didn't bring the budget with me. What is the difference in the 2 more days of treatment? I know transportation.
It'll be about $10,400
for the whole year to add on.
to add two half days. I believe it's 10,455.
But that's something that we could market to the people, that we have, because Coburg has no
They
pre-K
have none.
and other towns don't have pre-K. or
Correct.
payment, So having a half-day pre-K. which is
5 days
used-
a week.
Right,
Is a draw.
instead of just 3,
Yeah.
right.
And aside from a draw from parents, we have, the cutoff age for kindergarten is 5. So we, by like September, I believe it is. So we have many 4-year-olds coming in to kindergarten who really are young, and parents struggle, do we send, our kids to kindergarten? Do we, and for us to have 5 days, half days, as opposed to only 3 compared to 5 full days would mitigate that. And we have a lot of children who would, like this year, we've done some creative things with Bridges. And for the younger kids, Bridges doesn't have any offerings on Mondays. So for some kids, we've been able to do, they come to preschool here in the morning, and then in the afternoon, they go to Bridges. But not having the Monday, Friday, there are some parents that just, they can't do that. They need the full day every day. And I get it, parents have to work and, they can't quit their job to stay home, on Monday morning or Friday morning. So, there are kids who have, we've had to make decisions, families together with us have had to make some tough decisions sometimes about putting a child in a full-day kindergarten program because they need to be someplace full day. And really 3 half days isn't enough for some of these kids. The more time they have with role models and language exposure and social exposure is really, really helpful. So we want them in school or in a school situation more than 3 half days. So if we had the 5 half days, we would be able to put together a full 5-day, full-day program for youngsters, giving them the Botel half-day experience in the morning, and then we transport them to Bridges, and then they have some individualized, developmentally appropriate programming in the afternoon, which is a really good transition to a full-day kindergarten. So it's more than just, for parents. It provides opportunities to us to have some really flexible, developmentally appropriate programming for children.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Okay, review. So we have to finish by like 7:15. So yeah, that's it. We did fine. That's just check. Yeah. Yeah. So we also had our bills for review. Are there any questions about the bills for review?
They did keep coming.
All right, the principal's report. I know the principal is at the 6th grade field trip, so did she give you anything?
I didn't get it.
No.
She'll give you a double report in May.
Our standing committees. John, I know you have limited time. Is there anything that you need to report on here? See, policy. Let's do policy.
So, Mary Beth, what were you saying to me when we first came about? I couldn't hear
Okay,
you.
so that was one of the policies that I didn't know if you wanted to do for first grade.
Truancy. Yeah, sure.
I know Janet had one, but I don't know which, I don't remember. I think it was parent involvement,
But I haven't gotten anything from her, and I don't know if you did review it.
I did not, and I was unable to call the meeting to speak just because I was catching up from being abroad last week.
I wish we had more time for a report on that.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to just push policy, and I'll call a subcommittee meeting next month and go for
The
that.
truancy one we did go through, so if, I didn't know if you wanted to distribute that for a first read and then discussion for next time, so that, we could move that one a little more quickly. And then we're in the process right now, the charging policy was one that, Kathy and Mary Pat are working on video
Mhm.
which they are the people that have handled that and are in the best position to go through those. So for the next policy meeting, I will have a draft that they have submitted.
And that's with Ed Advance right now, currently, right?
Yeah, we have that advanced, but our
Sure.
charging policy has to be specific to our school because they differentiate that even with everything. So we'll have that for the next policy.
And we'll talk about attendance and non-discrimination as well next month. I'll call a subcommittee
Okay.
meeting.
So the subcommittee of the policy subcommittee, the subcommittee of the policy subcommittee presented Kathy with a copy of the absentee and truancy policy revisions with some corrections to Cabe's typographical mistakes.
Okay. Did you hear that, Kathy? Yes, yes, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we don't have. Here, so I will have a couple wellness. Ginger, you have next today?
Well, it was great us because Mary Beth had done some more and it's not really, there really wasn't much to discuss anyway. Just hope, there was no COVID, but Keandra will have things to report on when May is from which was the The Lions Club's coming in for vision screening. She's waiting on Brooker Memorial to come in to do the dental screenings. So she'll report on all of that. And we'll talk about just prepping for COVID or whatever we have to do for next year.
Okay, and our finance meeting, we'll probably have to have one after. Or finance meeting, curriculum, what's this last? Issues, school and safety is next week, school and safety is next week. Shared services is Janet, right? That means the next time. The PTO.
I can't make the meetings on there.
Yeah, so, well, so I went to the meeting last night on the PTO. PTO is transitioning to some new leadership. Chelsea Bottom is the acting president, and she's doing a really great job. As you all know, I am retiring from the PTO, and it held a number of, one number of hats. So kind of been meeting with people to kind of move those things into different spots. So, but things are going really well. The play was a really nice success. The
Pizza and movie night.
pizza
right?
movie night happened. I feel like they're every other week there's something. So everything was good though. Everything seems like it was going well. And yeah, all the marionettes came, that's right.
Yep.
And
There's hotel merch. And
oh, that's right.
people go to the Facebook page. Janet is actually running an Etsy shop. So she has some in stock, but also it's hotel and Norfolk, different bands and tumblers or whatever. That it helps raise money for the 6th grade trip and other things.
Yeah, so I think the idea right now is to kind of try it out, see how it goes, and then see what the interest is in expanding to more things.
Right, and also has some display case down at the store,
So
right?
Janet said that up to you. So,
Thank
great, okay. And we do have 2 remaining cultural events coming. One is Arabica, which is a cultural event about a cultural presentation about Arabic cultures, and then one I think it's Takeza, which is a Japanese drumming group. So really good stuff on that. Oh, and May 19th will be the talent show.
You don't want to have your evenings free until May 19th,
Talent show's easy. It's all the kids.
right?
But that play was just spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely spectacular.
Excellent actors and actresses and crews. So it was really couldn't miss with all that.
And, I couldn't ask you earlier, I was at the Friday performances, but I know, Meadowbrook was gonna come on Saturday. Did they make it?
I don't know if anyone did, to tell you the truth. I'm not.
They canceled the bus because there wasn't enough people.
That's good.
But I brought one Meadowbrook.
I-
For my mom.
Oh,
Mhm.
sweet. But I know we sent invitations to town members, and again, I didn't send anybody Friday night, but
I got emails from several people, including some board finance members who came and said nice things. So
oh,
it was
good. Oh, I'm glad they came, because that's just, they're just incredible opportunities to show off our kids, so I'm glad they came.
okay. Let's see, Bagley, maybe? No. Okay, so, moving on to unfinished business. I wanted to talk about our superintendent review instruments. Did you all want to vote first on the, so we don't forget?
Yeah.
Okay. We need to vote every year about the healthy food certification. Piece. So you should all should have that in front of you. We have to vote to accept the healthy food option and then vote to accept the food and beverage exemption. So let's take a moment just to review this, to familiarize yourself again.
I'll make a motion to accept the healthy food option policy. Is it a policy requirement? Kathy will figure out the right words. Option.
A second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
John said that. My hands up.
And then, we also need to consider the food and beverage exemption.
Make a motion to accept the food and beverage exemption as defined in this paragraph.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, motion carries. Right,
Just a separate note, the name is chef, even though she says she's a lunch lady, I called her a chef and she was like, what? She's a hit.
Yeah.
You know, the kids are loving the food. I get daily reports on how great the food is.
so
So,
that's great.
She's wonderful.
that's pretty amazing. Yes.
Okay, so, next, at our next meeting, we will be doing our superintendent evaluation. And to that end, we should review the instrument that we use for that evaluation. Do you have copies of this? I know some of the other ones holding it. Okay, well, I've got a couple here. Yeah, maybe if you don't mind. We have the one that we've used in the past. Well, I think we've used both of these in the past. One is from Cave and one is the one that historically has been used here.
John, do you have to go? Oh, John's trying to grab the paper.
Oh, I see. So I wanted to just go over it and, you know, just have, hear some reactions to it. Think if there's ways that we'd like to tweak it or change it, to talk about that procedure and how that works. You know, just to get a feel for, you know, to make sure we're in a good place to work on it. In my experience, over the time we kind of sit and talk and review these things piece by piece and go through it to come to some consensus, and then we address the superintendent with our, you know, our thoughts from that. So
If we do that fully together, only at the meeting, there's no sort of looking at the instrument and coming with.
oh,
ideas.
right now we're gonna look at the instrument right now.
I mean, like, start thinking about our answers and like how we would address it. Is that fully a public thing at the next meeting?
No, you fill out your form. I fill out my form.
Well, yeah, exactly. You
Okay.
think about like
Okay.
you don't necessarily have to like fill out a form in it. You don't like fill it out and like submit it. It's just for us to kind of like use as a structure to have our conversation together. And it's done in it's done in an executive session.
Okay, but it gets completed next month
Together.
at that meeting together. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can certainly think about it beforehand.
Sure.
But like, yeah, we talk about it together at that meeting.
Okay.
And we can go into executive session because it is a personnel matter about the superintendent. correct?
Right. Yeah, you have to. Right.
Right. No, just, people might ask, why can't we talk about it in public?
Right. I'm sorry, I didn't have copies for them.
And then Ann, you will get the results that we agreed upon as a group and you'll meet with Mega.
That's how it's been done in the past, and I think that works. And so the idea is that you know, we discuss and we come to consensus about how, you know, how we would like to move forward and the things that we, you know, and we feel that we'd like to share and address and go forward from there. Mary Beth also completes a self-evaluation that she will give to us to review this now. I don't know if that has always been the case, but we've done that in the last several. So
Would they have that before the meeting? Session?
I feel like that has usually come during that executive session.
I can
I have
go
trouble.
back to-
Give it to us earlier. Okay.
Well, this is one. And I don't believe I'm part of that executive session
Right.
discussion, so I will get that to you.
And depending on the instrument that you're going to use, I'll use that as kind of a guide template.
Yeah, that makes, that.
So, did you say you had two different forms?
I do. I have two. There's the, one is a CADE form directly,
Yeah.
and the other is the Norfolk Public Schools one that was in place when I first started here.
Okay. I recall the cave being quite
It's pretty thick, yeah.
detailed.
Yeah. We moved to that CADE one because we thought it was more detailed and, gave more opportunities for discussion.
Yeah.
That's my recollection. This is not making for very riveting video, but that's what I say. I feel a little.
John could sing maybe. You wanna
Yeah.
sing a song?
Come on, John, entertain us. Yes, please.
Come on, Mamma Mia, let's go. You're gonna hate ABBA, Esther.
It's fun if you spend some time with John, he'll start playing all like alternatives to all the ABBA songs that like other bands have like covers of ABBA songs. It's really very interesting. I didn't know there was.
Erasure, change your mind, that's the best one.
Okay, so you'll see here, there's the big form. And then there's the Norfolk Public School one. So maybe just take a minute to review them.
And so this Board of Ed one, or this big one is a Board of Ed self-evaluation?
That's the, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. That's what I actually. I'm sorry.
There's two pages that are the same. The first and the third page, they'll say vision and then board operations. And then there's board ethics and board superintendent.
All right. Well, bring your attention to this one.
Okay.
So this evaluation instrument is broken into broken into sections. The first section being relationship with the board. Then there's community relations. Then there's staff and personnel relations, educational leadership, business and finance, and personal qualities. I think I know that has come up before is the idea of, well, adding the self-evaluation piece from the superintendent, but then also adding potentially anonymous survey data from the staff, that sort of idea. And so I asked Mary Beth earlier, what surveys are currently done at the school? Because it seems to me that I think it'd be kind of forced to, or maybe just not even work very well to try to conduct an anonymous survey in a short time period about a very specific topic. It's just hard to, I just think that's in this sort of, in our environment, that's going to be a kind of difficult thing to do. But if we already, I know that we already give annual surveys. I think we are required to by law. That, maybe there are ways to incorporate some of that, add some things to those annual surveys that could then, be considered when we're looking over the kind of broad picture that we're using to do evaluation. So can you tell us about the surveys that happen?
Well, every year we do a parent and a staff survey in June, and I provide the results. Lauren goes through the survey, whatever, monkey, whatever, which gives us the results, and I bring that to the board members every end of the year, summer, June. And so I can send that to you, and if there are additional questions that you would like to add, the way it's posed now, there are some administrative questions, but they mostly pertain to the principal. It's not typical that the superintendent is in the building, and in many districts, people don't even ever see the superintendent to know that, but of course up here it's much different. So But some of them are clearly the principal. So if there are questions on the survey that you want to tease out specifically about the superintendent, certainly, I would welcome you to wordsmith that, and then we can include them in the survey, and then they become part of the annual feedback that we get.
So maybe before our next meeting, you can send to us a copy of the of last survey.
Yeah.
The copy of the questions from the last survey. And then maybe we can take a look at that, and I might ask for some results for certain, maybe you could give me the results for certain questions or something like that, just so I'll have them available.
Because I
for
know I put it together
evaluation.
for the board last summer. I will resend all of the questions and then the responses. And the responses are, strongly agree, don't know, disagree, strongly disagree. And I broke that out and I gave you those results. So you can see the questions and you can see the results from last year. And then the same questions and, with any additions that you would like to add for this year.
Well, we know how many people responded.
Yeah.
So it's
I
not just
think
a
that's,
percentage.
that's there too. And, I believe like the staff survey was like 23 out of 25 responded. So I gave you a real number and a percentage for, and I didn't give the 5 categories. I grouped agree, strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree, don't know. With the percentages and then the actual number, because, with 25 people, one person is.
Right, excuse.
But-
I think that we should get the whole thing,
Yeah.
not just like select questions. I think it's.
Yeah,
I'll send you the whole,
entire-
yeah.
Great.
I
Do
just
the,
found-
still when the staff does their survey, do they have to put their name on it, or is that?
No,
anonymous?
it's all anonymous. And the same with parents. We send a parent version, you were parents get that, and then we, disaggregate all of the responses as well.
Are they all done digitally or are they paper
They're all
surveys?
digital. Yeah, they get sent out a link, people can respond. It's all done in Monkey Survey, so you get the results and you can request different formats in terms of the reports. And one is, it gives you percentages. One, I think it's a pie chart, but you get all the same information.
So
Board of
if it's
Finance
a-
starts in 9 minutes.
Oh,
7:30.
7:30,
Oh,
right?
it's 7:30.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
I mean, it usually is. Is there some, is the? Oh,
Sorry.
I'm pretty sure.
Sorry.
I've got the agenda on my
Well,
lap.
let's just make sure. Because I do not need to.
Yeah.
On this website.
I would say that this instrument plus the surveys.
You're right, 7:30, sorry.
So in my opinion, I think this is. It's a service.
My only suggestion or my only question was, the consistently exceeds expectations, generally exceeds expectations, all of the rankings are based on, whether the expectations are met, and maybe, adding to or defining what the expectation is for consistent performance or what, I don't know. Would make it a more nuanced instrument.
Because you do give your goals, but I don't know, do we ever, like last year, we gave feedback. So do we base our expectations off of last year's feedback? Like we expect XYZ, right? Does that answer your question?
Looking at the, criteria A under the relationship with the board, what is the expectation for keeping the board informed?
Right. Like, do we have a concrete, like measurable amount, or is it just what we think? Because then it's objective, subjective. Sorry, I've been looking at rubrics way too much today. So.
Also, maybe we would want to,
Know that it's feasible to do it before, nor I don't think, I'm mixing the word, sorry. It's not fair to say to the superintendent. We just define what,
yeah, right. I mean, but maybe when we're doing this, we should keep that in mind for what do we want to produce so that for next time,
Yeah.
it can be, it could
we
be,
share what the expectations are.
yeah, and write them very specifically.
Yeah.
So they could then be referenced again.
And I'm not sure we need 9 expectations. We could probably have per, like,
Yeah.
that. We could probably have the expectation for relationship with the board is this.
Right, right.
So we can
I
just
was gonna suggest
six
that
of
you
them,
use those number points as kind of a holistic thing and just look in general and, you know, rate overall relationships. Because
Mhm.
those categories, I think you probably know enough about me that with some of the guidance from those subdivisions to come up with what you think, and then again, a goal for, so if you think that it's not up to what your expectations are, your collective expectations, then, you know, a goal that you would set for me that would improve. If it's something that you think is, you know, fine and dandy, there's always room for improvement, but, if there's something that you happen to really like a lot, you know, what specifically makes you like it that I can make sure I continue to do it and more of it. So the more specific the feedback is, the more helpful it is.
Okay. I think that will help us really define our structure of our conversations, so we can, you know, work to write those goals together. And in the process of writing them, respond to each of these pieces.
And then prep for like next year too, so that there's more clarity on expectations.
Right, that sounds perfect. Great, okay. All right, was there anything, anything else that we wanted to discuss on this topic? Because if not, then I think we would be ready for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Stay down the street.
All right. Bye-bye, John. Thank you very much.